Robbie Salter. Thank you for joining me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Robbie, tell us a little bit about your journey. What led you to co-found Jupiter and, tackle the whole Dandruff situation?
Sure. Well, my background is it wasn't formally in anything related to beauty. My journey was after starting a couple companies in college. I was fortunate enough to exit one of them, making a very, very, very small amount, which gave me basically the freedom to spend 1 year sort of pursuing life and figuring out what I wanted to do. I ended up finding myself in the entertainment industry. That was 6 years in the entertainment industry, working with some of the biggest producers out there. Then I went back to school, got my JD and MBA from Northwestern, came out, and I actually started working on the other side of show business, which is the business side of show business. And for those who don't really know how the media industry works, is those advertisements that you see on the Super Bowl are what pay these companies to create creative. So I had been close with all the storytellers, and now I'm talking to all these major brands and working with them and helping them think about them becoming the future of who they wanted to become. In that process, I started to hear about how these companies were looking at digitally native brands. I sort of parked that in the back of my mind and said, hey, if I have that great idea one day, I'm going to chase it because it sounds like these companies are really looking for innovation. The company that I was working at had gotten acquired, and I was in my office one day scratching my head saying, what am I going to do with my life? Where am I going next? And I looked down on the table, saw a pile of dandruff, and I said, this is interesting. Let me do some looking. Did a market analysis, saw how big the dandruff industry was. So 50 to 75% of the world gets dandruff. 20% gets it chronically. Head and Shoulders is the number one selling shampoo brand in the world, period, the end. Nizoral, number one selling shampoo brand on Amazon across any category, period, the end. And neither of those products really spoke to me. So I said, this is probably the perfect time in my life to marry what I understood about how these big brands are looking for innovative startups and the opportunity that I saw in the market to address a personal need and concern.
Okay, let's dig into the spoke to me part. I'm curious about
Yeah, sure.
that. So I wanted to ask you about how you identified that gap in the market. So what I understand, I actually want to rewind a little bit. I'm curious about the entertainment part of
Yeah,
it
sure.
before we get to that.
Sure,
Can you
sure.
tell us a little bit more on the entertainment portion?
Yeah, sure. So I spent 6 years ultimately working in the industry, two of them with a producer named Jerry Bruckheimer, who's famous for shows like CSI Miami, Cold Case, Without a Trace, The Amazing Race, but also movies that you're familiar with like Top Gun Maverick, Top Gun Beverly Hills Cop, National Treasure, Pirates of the Caribbean. So when I was at his company, and I was extremely fortunate to be around some of the best producers and directors and actors and writers, most importantly, I was hearing about storytelling. I was hearing about the three-act structure. I was hearing about hooking, bringing them up to a peak, and then the denouement or the denouement of sort of settling down at the end, tying it up with some sort of conclusion. Um, that taught me a lot about structuring thoughts in prose.
Hmm.
Um, when the recession hit in 2008, 2009, right around that time, um, I sort of knew that I was missing something from. Um, I started to look at the entertainment industry and saw this company Netflix is now starting to do streaming. There was this shift in the way that we were consuming content, and I felt like I was a chess piece versus being a chess player. And I wanted to go back to school to understand how do all these pieces fit together, and that's frankly when I made this big discovery that like the show business, there's a show, and then there's business. I knew the show, I didn't know the business.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I went back to school to understand the business.
Yeah. So storytelling. in the building of a brand seems like one of your passions that kind
Definitely.
of drove you from that world into this world.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the Head and Shoulders. Didn't speak to me, and forget the name of the other brand. You can tell that's
Nizer, which is again, it's hysterical. It's like you don't even know the name of the other brand, but it's the
yeah.
number one selling shampoo brand on Amazon.
I'm probably not looking at the situation over here.
Yeah,
There's a reason I haven't had
no,
to
no,
use a
no.
shampoo for over a
It's,
long, you know.
I mean, listen, the thing that anybody in the hair care industry or the scalp health industry will tell you is that skin is skin, whether it's on the
Yeah.
top of your head or it's on your
Yeah.
arms or the back of your knees or on your knees. The conditions that you're experiencing on your head, whether you have hair or not, are can be found anywhere else in your body. And the products that we sell or the brands that we've talked about are also very effective for other parts of your body as well.
Yeah. So you thought, so you said that 75% of the people have dandruff. So that's one.
Or dry skin.
I'm
Yeah,
just trying to see, like,
yeah,
I'm trying to understand the transition here.
yeah.
Head and Shoulders, maybe like an old brand that's like not cool anymore or something, or too mainstream, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe there's something like more modern
Yeah. So
missing from a brand perspective.
yeah. So listen, Head and Shoulders is clearly doing something right. They are speaking to a particular audience with a particular need, who wants to access their product in certain places. Their brand is their brand. I'm not going to comment on what it stands for. Everybody has a different perspective of what that brand may mean to them. But particularly from a brand story perspective, the brand wasn't speaking to me. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
something different.
Mm-hmm.
The true big discovery moment was when my business partner and I decided to run, we decided to create a fake brand online just
Mm-hmm.
to see if anybody else felt the same way that we did about the incumbent brands that were out there.
Oh, so interesting.
And what we discovered is that, and so we created this fake website. It was called Headway, and this fake brand called Headway. It was a real website, fake brand, and we drove, call it 15, 20 grand of our own money in ads towards these websites. And what we discovered, it wasn't men like you and I who were looking for a new product necessarily. It was really women who felt like they were being left out of the conversation, and that they were looking for a product that was safe for color treated and chemically treated hair, and that it was sulfate, paraben, phthalate free, that the brand itself spoke to them, that it was salon quality, that it smelled good, that it had no synthetic fragrances. So we just took that data and we handed it to our formulators and we said, make that. And as easy as that sound, that took us 18 months to then create the actual products that fulfilled those needs and checked those boxes.
Well, now we have to dig in again. You were saying very interesting things, and anybody who's about to start something new, what you just explained is actually probably a very smart thing to do. But let's understand that more.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we created a fake brand, Headway. What's on the website? You spend $10,000-$20,000
Correct,
saying
correct.
what?
So we spent all in, call it $10,000 to $20,000, whatever it was. So it was a fake brand, offering a shampoo, conditioner, and serum, which are our core products today. And it allowed people to add items to cart. When you would go to checkout, a pop-up would come up and it would say, hey, we're not ready yet. Leave us your information, answer some questions, and when we're ready to launch, we'll give you 15 or 20% off your first purchase.
How did people respond to that? Did they get upset?
It didn't even matter, to be honest with you, because they weren't our real customers. They were sort of fake customers or pseudo customers. I mean, they're real people, of course, but any temporary, disdain that they may have had for us, it was relieved theoretically by this 20% off offer that we were giving them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we launched, we converted a large number of those customers because if they were having a scalp concern or issue when we found them, 6 months, 9 months prior, there's a good chance that they still have it.
Yeah. So you said that you took that data, gave the data to the formulators. What is the data? This conversion rates, these products are what's getting interest, these products are not what's getting interest.
It's mostly what they're looking for in a product. So sulfate, paraben, phthalate free, fragrant, like no synthetic fragrances.
So based on what's they're clicking on and what they're clicking on, and the description of the product includes those ingredients
That's
you're
exactly
talking
right.
about.
Like, just to
Okay.
be clear, we had no idea what any of those things meant. Like, as a man,
Yeah.
I don't want to say as a man, but somebody who was not as keyed into what some of those terms meant,
Yeah.
sulfate, paraben, phthalate free. I had
But
no.
was that in the description of the ad?
Yeah. So, well, on the landing page, it
Oh,
was on some of the images. But again, we're total newbies to the category. We were still in an investigation stage when we ultimately, ask those questions. It's, tell us what's important to you in a product like ours, and people would say it needs to be color safe. It needs to be safe for keratin treated hair. It needs to be curl friendly. It needs to be natural fragrance. It needs to look good in the shower. All those things. It needs to be effective. And what we basically said is like, okay, now we know what it needs to be, because the majority of our customers are kind of saying the same thing, and it makes sense. 50% of women color treat their hair. So if you're going to spend a lot of money on color treating your hair, you certainly want a scalp product that isn't going to strip that hair color, because then you're going to go have to get it redone again. So again, we're total newbies to the category back then. Now after spending 5 years pre-launch and launch, being experts, truly experts in the category, it seems like table stakes. We're in a totally different era of scalp health now.
it's fascinating to me that you come into this knowing nothing, run this experiment, which is actually an entrepreneurial best practice, but nobody does it. You did it, and then you learned a whole bunch from it, and then pass it on to the formulator. So now what we learned is that 50% of the customers are color treating the hair.
Yeah.
So then what? So like now and the formulations. And what were the first products that came out of that
Yeah,
next step?
yeah. So we launched with 5 products, which in hindsight was probably too many. But each
What's the
product,
ideal number you think, Robbie?
I think it all depends on the category. I think at the end of the day, simplicity is key out of the gate. Really, keep everything as simple as physically possible. The way that we were looking at it is that each product served a very distinct purpose. In that, our shampoo is a medicated product, so we needed to launch a product that had a medicated ingredient inside of it in order to be able to check that box and say it's actually effective. Our conditioner, which is non-medicated, was intended to soothe the scalp. It was intended to reinsert hydration that may have been lost through the hydration process. Our serum is basically like our medicated shampoo, just outside of the shower. And the reason why we created that product was because women don't wash their hair as frequently as men do. Most women don't shower or don't wash their hair 7 days a week. Men tend to wash their hair 7 days a week. So we wanted something that was going to be able to treat the dandruff, but in between washes. And it goes on and on. I don't have to go through all 6 SKUs, but like those 3 were probably the key quintessential, like, you need these products. We needed to have those products to confidently say that we were addressing the issue and targeting and addressing the needs of a female customer.
And how long did it take to go from giving the data and the learnings to the formulators to actually having the products to launch?
Yeah, so launch-ready products, 18 to 20 months. And
What about test-ready products, like private test?
4 months?
Okay.
3 to 4 months. I mean, first, again, as total newbies to the category, to the industry, it's like we just had to understand the players, right? Like, my business partner comes from private equity, and he's also an Amazon expert. He has his own interesting background, but we weren't in the beauty industry prior, so we needed to learn the relationship between the formulators and the co-packers and the 3PLs and et cetera, et cetera. So bottom line is we were learning the industry and learning who to talk to and how to get in
During that 4 months?
During those 4 months. So it's and then here's the sort of the big issue is that a lot of these formulation partners will just say, hey, we have a product that basically you can white label. You can make changes to this product and you can call it whatever you want to call it. Problem is you don't ultimately own that formula. The formulator owns that formula. We said we want to own our own formulas. We want to be innovators. We want to start from scratch. So we started from scratch. We took out everything that we didn't like in the existing products and created an entirely new system made from zero. So the whole process, the perfectioning, the perfecting process took longer because we weren't using an off-the-shelf product.
And were you testing the initial versions with the folks who couldn't check out from the Headway website, or did you find like a whole new group of people?
We found a whole new group of people. We probably should have, but we didn't. I think at that time we were a little bit more obtuse and just thinking like, hey, we're building this for ourselves, so we need to like it. And that's true. We do need to not just like, but love and feel like it's a totally revolutionary product for ourselves. But we're two people on planet Earth. So we shared it with a handful of people that we knew had issues, got their feedback, and just sort of crossed our fingers. And thank God it worked out. I mean, today, Vogue nominated us their #1 favorite dandruff shampoo, period.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
So, thank you. Point being is we started with innovation. We started with what felt like something we wanted to a product that we were proud of for ourselves, but we absolutely should have tested it with more people, and we certainly do that today.
So now we have a nice formula. People are liking it. Now we're talking about branding and packaging design.
Yep.
Beautiful packaging and just the bottles. Everything looks great compared to like what we see in the grocery stores or pharmacies.
Yeah.
How important is that visual aspect for Jupiter?
Yeah, I think the short answer is that it depends, right? It's we are a needs-based product, right? So we are not a chocolate bar where you really have to be sold on sort of the dream, the story. For some people we do, but for the people who are really looking for a solution, who are really looking for an answer and to address a need, at the end of the day, their priorities are totally different. Like I may be a chocoholic, but at the end of the day, many chocolates are going to satisfy that craving. Whereas if you have a scalp concern, if you have dandruff, but you also have color treated or chemically treated hair, and you're looking for something that is sulfate, paraben, and phthalate free, vegan, everything that I mentioned, like there is nobody else except for us. So in some
Why
respect,
is that?
Say it again.
Why is that?
It's a really, really hard industry to be in, and it's a challenging category. I mean, we really dance between efficacy and brand, right? So there is this sort of stigma that's associated with the topic where if it's too pretty, efficacy comes in question. If it's too effective looking, then comes this question of, is this going to destroy my scalp and is this going to destroy my hair? So
interesting. So you have to find the Goldilocks between efficacy and
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. So it's so I guess the short answer is that brand matters, but I wouldn't say it matters as much as it does in other categories. And some days that's great, and some days it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. So, it seems to me Jupiter's kind of positioned as a lifestyle brand, not just a dandruff solution.
Sure.
Am I correct to assume that, or just that's my observation?
Yes. I mean, the short answer is that dandruff is either genetic or lifestyle oriented.
Hmm.
So, if it's genetic, your lifestyle isn't going to have as much of an impact as your lifestyle. So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, hey, if you're getting dandruff or dry scalp as a result of some of your lifestyle choices, we want to be able to help you understand those things and understand those variables that are impacting your scalp issues. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to buy us because we're effective.
Right, right. So this is so interesting. Again, the other brand you mentioned, again, I forgot the name, but it sounds like a medicine, right? It's like a medical.
Nizarel.
Okay, so it sounds like medicine,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and then it sounds like it's a medicine that solves a disease that you have or something. But in your case, it's like this attractive lifestyle. It seems like, you may be running into some perception related, customer education related challenges. Is that right? How are you
You
dealing
hit
with
that.
that?
You hit the nail on the head. So people often ask us, why is the company called Jupiter, right? And the short answer is because from an astronomical perspective, Jupiter, the planet, is the largest planet in the solar system. It has a storm, or the red eye of Jupiter is a storm that's been burning on its head for the past 300 years. And astronomers talk about the dissipation of the storm, the breaking up of the storm, as flaking. In addition to that, because the planet is so large, it protects planet Earth from space flakes or meteors. But what we're getting at here is that Jupiter is science. The planet Jupiter is in this scientific nomenclature and lexicon already. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to borrow from the science world, but make it approachable in that it didn't have a hard Z or a hard X. Again, that can work for us or against us. People can say, great, I don't want the X's and the Z's. Or they could say, I need something with an X or a Z because I got a real bad situation here. Again, it's sort of marketing, right? How do we build a brand to tell you it sounds scientific, and by the way, it's actually science. It's actually effective. It will do what we say, so much that we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee on our product.
Hmm. Okay, well, where are we in the journey now? So we did our fake brand testing.
Yeah.
We sent it to our formulators.
Yep.
We did our testing.
Yep.
Product is ready.
Yep.
Packaging, branding is ready. Now we have to sell.
That's right.
Let's get into marketing. So,
Great.
what channels did you get started with? What worked and what didn't?
Well,
What did you learn?
you've missed the most important point of this whole story, which is we've quit our jobs. We've been formulating this product. My wife is pregnant.
And this is during COVID. Yep.
And guess what? As
Yeah.
the father of a 4-year-old, COVID strikes. The month that we are scheduled to launch this product, COVID strikes. So, S hit the proverbial fan, and we were always scheduled to be a digitally native brand. We were always intended to be a digitally native brand, and in some respects, we got lucky because we were a digitally native brand. And also, we were a brand that was need-based, concern-based. So in some respects, we got lucky in that people needed these products and were going to be using these products even if they were trapped in their homes. However, logistics, manufacturing, the borders were closed, so it was hard getting raw ingredients to manufacture the products. But from a marketing perspective, you're absolutely right. We were using the traditional, obligatory channels of Google and Meta to get us off the ground. As many early new brands do, you see early success off those platforms because it's a totally new product, and we had a totally new need. And frankly, we launched before pretty much every other brand was talking about this category, was interested in this category. Now scalp health is de rigueur. Everybody is launching a scalp product, but we were the first to talk about the concerns of the scalp next to Head and Shoulders and Nizoral and Selsun Blue, etc. So we were the first new age brand. So fairly quickly we saw through Meta and through Google that there was an audience, that there was a captive audience looking to purchase these products.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine HelloJupiter.com was the main channel. You mentioned your co-founder was an Amazon expert. Did you immediately put the product on Amazon, or you didn't do that?
We didn't intend to, but because Amazon was such a dependable, fulfillment channel, during COVID, we very quickly decided to open up our store, probably faster than most other companies would have. But in hindsight, it was a very good idea.
And when did you start thinking about a retail strategy? I see that you're in Bergdorf Goodman. Is that right? Which is pretty prestigious.
Yeah.
How did that partnership come about? And how long after launch did a conversation like that even, did somebody respond to your emails?
Yeah, so we found a couple of really wonderful early partners in both Bergdorf Goodman, but also in a barbershop chain. Strangely enough, like 85% of our customer base is women. But strangely enough, Fellow Barber and Rudy's, who previously one joint company, they identified that their customer base, who is a man who spends more money on his personal care products, that he would be looking for something like this. And they reached out, both of them reached out, and it just made sense. Bergdorf Goodman, listen, Dandruff has no income bracket, right? No matter if you're rich or poor, you can get dandruff, you can get dry scalp. So Bergdorf Goodman was the perfect partner in helping us tell the story that you can have a more elevated version of what is currently on the market. So they were a perfect partner.
And what about collaborations with other brands or influencers and creators? Is that something that's working well for the brand?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes and no, right? So it is a stigmatized topic. So some people feel more comfortable partnering up. Like we certainly have worked with a number of influencers who've been like, yeah, I have dandruff and dry scalp, and I'm totally willing to tell the world about it and share my experience. And post-pregnancy moms have a lot of issues with their scalp, and we've seen a lot of success with the mommy influencers who are honest in telling their stories about losing hair or having patches of dry scalp and dandruff. But at the same time, we've also encountered a number of influencers who have said, I have horrible dandruff, but I just don't want to talk about it. And there are also brands out there who say, we love what you're doing. We think what you're doing is awesome, and you're totally reinventing a topic, but we don't necessarily want to align with a brand that is more focused on an issue or a concern because of its potentially non-accretive impact to, detrimental impact to our brand.
Sure.
We don't take it personally. It's everybody's got their own goals for their brand.
And in terms of product line, are you thinking about expanding to other types of products?
Yeah, so it is public on our Instagram that we are launching a dry scalp system next Monday. On the 23rd. So currently, our current line of products are focused on dandruff, which is really oil control, whereas this new line that we're coming out with in a few days is focused on dry scalp. So fundamentally, our business is really going to be a two system business. So shampoo, conditioner, serum for dandruff control, shampoo, conditioner, serum, or moisturizer for dry scalp issues.
And dry scalp issues is not as stigmatized as dandruff, right?
It depends who you ask, right? Like I would, I like to say, and I truly believe that our world is sort of having fewer and fewer stigmas.
Mm-hmm.
Just the companies you see right now coming out with new products for previously stigmatized areas, it just shocks me every day, and they're really big businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Loom or Mando, these are businesses that are targeting, intimate areas, and they're enormous, enormous businesses. So I deeply respect those companies who are helping sort of destigmatize stigmatized categories.
Mm-hmm. So I'm always interested in niche categories. So what have you learned launching a product line in a very niche category? Like what kind of advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who also want to kind of develop really specialized products?
Yeah, there are a great line, as somebody told me, is there is riches in niches or niches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Riches in niches.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't rhyme as good as saying riches in niches, but it's the truth. Be good at one thing. Focus on one thing. It may be a smaller subset of individuals, but you're going to find more passion. You're going to find greater LTV. And if you create a product that people love, they'll stick around. Um, Certainly, you're narrowing your world, and you always want to have the biggest total addressable market. But at the same time, you want to I would make the argument like have the largest total addressable market for a niche, right? For a specific category. Um, and be ultra clear about what you offer and what your solution is.
Yeah. Robbie, last question,
Sure.
two parts.
Sure.
What are the two problems giving you a headache right now, and what are your top two priorities for the year?
Sure. I'd say biggest problems right now is I would I would say how thin we are stretched. I have an absolutely incredible team, absolutely incredible partners, but we're all working really, really hard. And there is always that tension between bringing on more people and the impact it will have on profitability and the actual financial impacts of your business. And frankly, like knowing whether or not you need all those people. So we're stretched really thin. I think the second one is probably competing with influencer-led brands. That keeps me up at night. I think influencer-led brands are in many respects it could be a good thing, but in most respects the products don't tend to be as high quality, and they tend to be more of a cash grab. Um, and that can be dilutive. That can hurt the entire category's efforts, because if one thing is looked at or perceived as being bad, they're
Oh,
getting
interesting. So you're worried about it from a hurting the category perspective, not just necessarily. Okay.
well, both hurting category perspective, but also taking attention away from a product that I don't think performed. That like it's not even think. It's like conclusively, objectively does not perform as well. Um, and I'm not even saying specific to our category. I'm just saying across the board, whether you're in, makeup or, hair care or clothing, at the end of the day, there are only so many ads the same person can be served on that day. And we're all competing for the same attention. Influencer-led brands tend to get around that by being their own, having their own social feed, um, be the source of that type of activity. So in many respects, like it's so hard to compete with a company when like they really haven't invested the time and the energy and resources to ensuring that the product is of the same quality. But we are long-term players. We are absolute experts in this category, and if that means slightly slower growth for people to discover ultimately that our product is superior, then it'll just take a little bit longer. But um, that's it. And then
Yeah.
the other, what are our priorities? Was that the other one?
Yeah.
Priorities for the year are getting ready for 2025. It's going to be a big year for us. And then on top of that, it's nailing the holiday season. We really want to make sure that we are delivering our products to our customers on time in anticipation of their holiday moments, because it's really important for people to get their products on time.
Robbie Salter, thanks for sharing your journey with me.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.